All right, guys, I have another match breakdown for you. This is one of my matches from 2016 Pan Pacific. This match is going to really show a lot of my strategy for stack passing my opponent. It's going to show how I like to position my opponent and just the things that are going through my head when I'm going for the stack pass. So let's begin. So from here, I go to a knee cut position initially when he pulls. And from here, I swim right underneath to my stack pass position. I start driving my opponent up. Now this is important. This is the key to a good stack pass in my opinion. This is something that's very overlooked, is the importance of putting my opponent on his neck. So I'm constantly keeping his hips high with his feet over his head, and I'm driving my opponent on his neck. Now you can't really see from this angle, but another very important thing from here is I have to keep my knees occupying his lower back area. Throughout the match, you're going to see better angles for this, but it's very, very important. So I pull my opponent up. I want to make sure he's on his neck. Now, even if your opponent is really flexible, if you put him on his neck with his hips elevated like this, his flexible legs are no longer in the equation. From here, I can really start to pass, and he can't really use his legs offensively to escape. A lot of people are discouraged about doing the stack pass because they feel that against the flexible person it's very difficult. If you're having issues against more flexible people, most likely the issue is you're just not properly putting pressure on their opponent and putting them on their neck. A lot of times when you put your opponent on their neck, just that alone is going to be enough for them to give up and give you the pass. So from here, I have him up on his neck with lapel control. Now you notice also in this position, guys, I'm not focused on clasping my hands together to control my opponent's hips. A lot of people show this and it can work. But it's very difficult on a high level opponent to clasp your hands together, palm to palm, and pull them up for the stack pass, especially if they have double sleeve control. Really, all they have to do is keep their knees separated, and it's really hard to clasp your hands together. So I'm more inclined to just grab his lapels, because it's a more neutral grip, and just pull my opponent up. Now from here, look at the grip I take. This is very important. As you can see, from this position, I reach my hand across the neck with my thumb inside his lapel. I always have my eyes peeled for this whenever I'm stacking. If I can get this, your chances of finishing are much higher. So I'm not necessarily going to hunt for it every second, but I always have my eyes peeled for this. If I feel there's an opportunity to grab it, I'll always take it. So from here, he kind of lowers his hips, but I stay driving. I just keep him on his neck, constantly keeping pressure on my opponent. From here, I'm driving, driving, driving. Now right here, this really illustrates the positioning that you want. A couple details. First of all, notice my knees right in his lower back area. And as you can see, we have his neck right on the mat right here. He's a little elevated at the moment, but he's up high on his neck, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now, if I don't have my knees occupying the lower back area, he's going to have space to Granby away or start to scoot out. So something needs to be occupying this lower back area. Sometimes it's my knees. Sometimes it's this arm hoisted under his back. Sometimes it's my chest really tight to his lower back area. But something needs to constantly be driving force into his lower back. Now from this position, it doesn't look like I'm applying a lot of pressure, and it doesn't feel like I am. But as long as I have good control from here, it's really unpleasant for my opponent. When I'm applying pressure, when I'm pressure passing, it's not always about hugging your opponent and exerting a big isometric squeeze. A lot of times it's just proper positioning. And from here, with my knees in his lower back, it's very hard for my opponent to move. Look how I'll even drive with my toes in the mat. So from here, my toes are in the mat. I'm driving my knees forward, and I have my chin comfortably close to his butthole from here. And from this position, I'm driving everything forward, so he's really tight on his neck. From here, I have the lapel control. I'm working to snake my head in a little bit. Now look what I'm doing from here. Another important detail. If he ever starts to get handsy with me, this happens a lot. The guy tries to use his hand to try to stop me from getting in. I drop my shin over his bicep. From here, it's going to do a couple things. First of all, it's just one less hand to work with. It's going to keep him more pinned to the mat, and it's also going to make it a lot easier to use this hand to swim across for the crossface. So if I ever have the opportunity, I will drop my shin right across his bicep. Now from here, my knees are no longer in his lower back, but from here, this arm, you can't really see from this angle, but this arm is hoisted right under his hips, so it keeps his hips elevated in the air. So moving on. Now from here, look what I'm going to do. I snake my head inside. That's another really important thing I'm going to do. I'm going to corkscrew my head right into this location right here. So there's many different things being worked at once. I keep my hand in the lapel right here with my arm hoisted under his back and it's occupying that lower back area. I have my knee pinning his bicep right here, and I'm working to swim my head right into this location right here. It's very hard for my opponent to move from here. So little by little, I kind of lose the position. I go for the back take. I lose the back take, but I'm still in this position. I still keep him on his neck. Super, super important. And look, I'm right back to this area with my knees in his back. I drive my shin across the bicep, and I solidify the pass. From here, we reset to the center. Let's move ahead a little bit. I'm in side control, and I'm working to get to mount. I get a little lazy. And from here, he recovers his guard. So once again, I work to knee cut, and I'm going to go right back to my stack pass once again. From here, like I said before, look how I take lapel controls. I don't try to clasp my hands together. I'm going to grab those lapel controls, and from here, it just makes it hard for him to shoulder walk backwards. Now, I don't do it in this match, but something to really think about. Right now, he knows at this point that I'm going to try to stack pass him. I've already shown my hand. He knows that. So look how he's trying to keep his legs kind of low. He keeps this foot a little closer to the ground so it makes it harder to stack pass. Something to think about, when the guy starts to lower his hips to the mat so you can't get underneath him, a good option is just to pin his leg down just like so and bring your leg across and start going to an over-under position. Over-under and stack pass go hand in hand. They're two passes that really synergize. I feel it's very important when you're trying to work any type of passing system. You have to find passes that synergize. So if you want to get good at one, I highly recommend getting good at the other. Over-under and stack pass, they work so well together. When they defend one, they're going to expose themselves for the other. But in this match, I was just very adamant about the stack pass. So I'm just driving him up once again on his neck. I'm grabbing those lapel grips so he can't shoulder walk away. And with the knees under his lower back, look, I work the grip again. So as you can see, let's back up a little bit. I get my knees under his lower back. And look what I'm going to do from here. I get my hand right across his neck to that cross-face position. So a couple things. I have my toes in the mat, knees in the lower back, and I'm driving forward. From here, I get my hand across the neck. So I have all these really, really good control points. Now from here, I pressure, and look how I post my other leg out from here. This is another really important detail. I keep one knee still occupying that lower back area so he can't Granby or scramble away. My other foot posts out so I have strong base, and look how I'm going to take my head, and I'm just going to snake it into this location right here. So from here, I snake my head in and I stick the landing. Now from here, I work to get to the mount position. Now, I remember from this match in particular, I had a seminar the following day and I was going to teach lapel techniques. So I wanted to try to do lapel attacks at the tournament, just kind of as good advertising. I didn't really get the opportunity in this match. So I specifically went to mount and I let him roll me over. I do this a lot in training as well. I think for training, it's really nice because it gives you the ability to really focus what, in my opinion, for jiu-jitsu is really good foundation, which is your ability to sweep and your ability to pass. So a lot of times I'll sweep my opponent, I'll pass them, I'll get to the mount, and I'll kind of let them roll me over. It's good in training. Obviously, you have to sharpen your submissions as well. But it's not the smartest thing to do in tournaments. I was up on points, so I felt kind of comfortable doing it. But I don't recommend doing this in tournaments. So I kind of take a minute, I recompose myself, I breathe, and I kind of just relax from here. And he kind of just rolls me over. And from here, I just start working my lapel attacks. Now from here, from the close guard, I do a lapel Omoplata attack. If you do not have this in your game, I highly recommend playing with it. Even if you don't like worm guard, you don't like lapel lasso, it's such a good attack from close guard. If you start to get good at it, it's going to be the only thing you want to do from close guard because it's just so effective. Now from here, I start out, the key to this technique, in my opinion, is concealing your intentions. You want to sell him on just that basic Bravo choke from the close guard. So look, I just get that across the neck grip, and I snake my hand inside, and I let him think, oh, I just want to go for a Bravo choke. Now from here, notice, I have my hand in the lapel, and he starts to take his arm, and he brings it real low to the mat right here, which is going to give me the opportunity to isolate his arm. So from here, I reach, and I just hug my own leg from here. So his arm is isolated on the mat. I pass the lapel over my own leg. I swim inside. I start attacking the triangle. I pass the grip, and I'm just doing a pendulum out to the side. Now from this position, we get into a little bit of a weird scramble, and we get right to the Omoplata crucifix position, which is my favorite finishing position for the Omoplata. All right, now a couple things from this position. My grips are crucial for finishing from here. From here, I have one hand in his lapel right here underneath his arm. This grip's very important. If I don't have this grip, he can come out to his knees, and we're just in a basic Omoplata position, which is good, but I want to maintain the crucifix because we have so many finishing options from here. So again, I have one hand in his lapel right here, so he can't get to his knees. You can't really see from this angle, but I have 4 fingers in the back of his gi right here. This is also a really important grip. Now for the basic finish, which is the first submission I'll always go for, it's going to set the pace for whatever I'm going to do. I'll either finish it, or depending on how he defends, I'll switch to other attacks. From here, what I do is I shrimp out. When I shrimp out, it creates a little space between the two of us. Within that open space, with my hand that's in the back of his gi, I'm going to pull him down. So it's going to be 2 motions for the basic finish. I'm going to shrimp out, creating open space. Then I'm going to pull him down into that open space. It's going to finish the shoulder lock. Now, if that doesn't finish him, it's just going to open him up for other attacks. He's so focused on that submission, I can start attacking different attacks, which is exactly what happens in this match. So I initially go for that always, but he's not really giving it to me, so I'm just going to switch to the basic gi choke from here. I pass the lapel, I bring it across the neck, and I finish my opponent. And that's the beauty of the Omoplata crucifix. There's so many ways you can finish that position. I start to go for that shoulder lock. It doesn't work. I go for the choke. If that doesn't work, I could just work back and forth between the two. I can roll him to his knees to do the traditional finish. It's just, he kind of has to pick his own poison. But no matter how he starts to defend, I have an option. Now, I think the big takeaway from this match is just the stacking options. The crucifix is nice, the lapel stuff is nice, but the big thing I want you to focus from this match is just my stacking strategy. The big thing, most important thing, I'm putting my opponent on his neck, and I'm always keeping his lower back area occupied with my knees. Now from here, I'm driving him forward, and things I'm always looking for is that cross grip across his neck. I'm trying to get my thumb inside. I'm always trying to bring my knee over his bicep so it isolates his arm, and I'm trying to snake my head inside. When I get my opponent on his neck, it's like day and night. The difference between just keeping control of his hips where he's low to the ground and having him up on his neck, it's all about getting him on his neck. And from there, that's when you can really start effectively passing your opponent. Us.